All right, well, I showed a little video of what was going on, and still have to do all the wastegate hard lines, but today's progress is really good. I ended up changing over this reservoir and rebleeding the brakes kinda. I'm going to also take the map sensors and most likely flip them around somewhere. But all that stuff was not the priority today. I went ahead and did all the tightening of this. I vacuumed everything out, so there's no chance of any metal shavings, debris, like this sort of stuff getting anywhere. So internally, everything is vacuumed. And then I just finished the other side of the car, and I'm over here to show what I was doing. So I just put the air conditioning line in that way right there. That's looping through. And then I did clamps here. I really should have made this wide angle. But you guys can see there's a lot of stuff going on with air conditioning. And I mean, I still have to replumb a bunch of this stuff, but every single clearance is just very specific to what we're trying to do here. We've got the oil on the front cover, we've got the belt tolerances, we've got the air conditioning, we've got the power steering cooler, which I still haven't even done yet, the fuel cooler in the front, which is these two parallel lines, which is coming off of this guy right here. We've got this huge 18-inch long, 6-inch round filter, which then goes up to this hole here. It goes up to the top. And I'm hoping to put the AC dryer right here. So we'll see. The turbo inlet is going to go here, over, down, and then it goes through this hole right here. It's already all finished, powder coated, done. You guys can see 2-stroke reservoir. I have to go run a little line to the little fitting down here off the OMP. Then I take a bracket for these two pieces and bring this up so that these are off of the exhaust. This is my main ground, and then my coolant line for the turbo feed and for the wastegates. And then we're going to clean up all this stuff with the Max solenoids and the carbon Kevlar lines, which these are amazing, but putting them between an exhaust manifold is really not the best idea. And the AC stuff, which I've just spent the last 2 hours on, is, I'll show you guys. So this line here is from a Prelude, ends up being the correct size here, and then it runs all the way down, and then this fitting, for whatever the heck this is a different fitting than this one, right? This style does not fit in this cooler, because I think I got, when the car burnt down and the AC was replaced, I think I got an even older air conditioning unit internal to the car without realizing it. So that's why I've got weird shit from like an 89 Prelude, and then this line here and this dryer are the same. This is from the original car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this to where it needs to go, take this off, braze on the proper fitting to fit this stuff, and then that way I've got my dryer to this, all where it needs to go. This thing, very simply put, just hard line right there, that goes in there, this drops down, kicks over here. So this will most likely be shortened, and a fitting added and perfectly straightened. So not a big deal. The dryer is pretty tall, so I'll see if I can find an alternative with this thread that is maybe a wider body and 2.5 inches shorter. That'd be awesome, because unless I angle this in at some ugly thing, and yes, there are ways to get this in perfect. I could trim this out. I could knock out this hole to let this sit further down, which was the original plan. And then see if I just take this and I do a hole saw right here, this can drop in, the bracket can go underneath on this bar right here. And then these lines will end up being very close. This one's right here. Then we've got this one with a little short line, which I just showed you guys, to go to the hard line. So that's the proposed idea, and we'll see how it goes. And then stuff that I was working on just now was all of the retorquing and clearancing of every single fitting, line, everything. The electrical stuff's all done, so we've got double aught gauge going to the starter, and that goes off to this post here. Cleaned up, organized. I made it to where its flat bottom panel will not be affected. And then we're good to go. So everything has its clearance where it needs to. Wow, powder coated motor really does look pretty. When the light hits it, it's like, it's very special. This is also a black flake powder coat. Anyways, this will tuck up slightly when the flat panel is on here. You can see the standoffs right here. And another angle of the radiator, all the setup that I did today was air conditioning related. So obviously this is my zinc fitting right here on the bottom of the radiator. That's all vacuumed out. AC hard line kind of thing. And the upper AC line, which is right there. I did a 45 manually by myself, just kind of bent it in the vise. There's a brushless 500 watt Spall fan and a CWA 400 water pump, and then a huge NASCAR front sway bar. So that didn't feel good. So Carceps bar, a little bent, clearanced, and then this is a 250 wall. And if we find it's too much bar or not enough, I can just swap out the whole thing for like $150. Then I can go from a 250 to like a 188 to a 125, whatever I need to do. And you can tell I tried getting as much clearance as possible. And then I did a little bend on it. And then the new coilovers that eventually come are going to have this body right here. It's going to have a ring and a standoff. It's going to go directly to it, perfectly in line. So the motion ratio of the sway bar will be different, because I didn't like the idea of using this, re-drilling or offsetting, and then not having a perfectly parallel to vertical situation. And they've got collars for any sort of in and out movement. And I've got my steering rack spaced up. I make all these if you guys ever need them. This is for bump steer correction. And I'm sure you guys can tell that is like perfectly parallel from ball joint to tie rod. and had a clearance here a little bit because that was the original scuff mark. Lots and lots of addition. We've got ABS hubs on here for wheel speed. I believe this is a vert reinforced subframe. And what else can I show you guys? That's about it. I think I've just been buttoning up literally everything. So we've got, like I said, air conditioning, power steering coolers, fuel coolers, dual oil coolers, huge radiator. And I'm actually really happy with how the AC line goes underneath and loops into that hole. So that was cool. And tomorrow, hopefully get another 3-4 hours out in the garage, and I can do stuff like this. I can finish more of the AC stuff or anything else I can do to get the reassembly happening. So probably pull the intercooler, do the ducting for the turbo's inlet, the downturn for the shoot, I don't even know if I showed this to you guys. This car has a Bosch drive-by-wire for anti-surge valve right off the turbo compressor. So instead of having a blow-off valve, I have drive-by-wire here, and I've got drive-by-wire here. This is the on-throttle drive-by-wire. This is the not surging the turbo, so it's going to lightly open the flap or fully open the flap depending on if I'm on throttle, off throttle, certain conditions, to make sure that turbo, as big as it is, does not surge. And I guess surging, one way to think about it is the turbo is able to feed the engine more than the engine can consume. So kind of a simple concept, but you'll hear chuffing of this. That's the air coming in, now back feeding, pushing outside of the compressor inlet and slowing the turbo. It ends up damaging blades, damaging center housing, all sorts of stupid shit. So always have either a blow-off valve or a crazy drive-by-wire air diverter. So that's it for today. I guess I also showed in one of the last videos, this is for the vacuum actuated primary secondary, and the semi-PP and bridge ports are controlled here. So that way this drive-by-wire can go all the way only on the primary runners if needed, and then I can stage this for secondary and semi-PP as necessary. Most of the heat shielding is done. So we've got the engine bay heat shielding here, got it all down here. If you look underneath, we've got the exhaust fully wrapped all the way back. And then up beyond the exhaust, fully wrapped all the way back. And then these are capped, reinforced frame rails. When I get on a lift eventually, I'm going to tape everything off and recoat all this as thick as I can without it causing an issue. It's just going to add a lot of sound deadening. It's pretty quiet already. Everything's pretty quiet on this chassis, so that's about it now. I think I did cover everything this time. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Still waiting on wiring, but we've got that box is almost finished, and just gonna keep rolling through. Hope to start in a couple months, but again, just waiting on wiring, so that's all I can do. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that. This is the essentially February 1st update for 2024, or I might be living in the future, so it might still be January. Who gives a shit? I'll check in when I can, and cheers. Catch you guys in the next one.